Om Sarva Mangala Mangalye Shive Sarvartha Sadike Sharanye Trambake Gauri Narayani Namostute. In the beginning, my revered pranams to most revered Maharaj and my devoted pranams to all the senior sadhus and dear participants. I could see a bit of restlessness. Of course, you have to hear 2 more lectures. I can understand you. But we are here to hear and learn and know, so you need to have a bit of patience. I can understand, but have a little bit of patience. Because of idea of Swami Vivekananda, so many monks, along with devotees, they are working from past 125 years, not a day seminar. It is just to emanate a given idea, a perception, a bird's view of our journey of 125 years. So we need to have a bit of patience to hear at least, not to do. We are not asked to do any service, not to do any relief, not to start any school by you. But just hear what our senior sadhus have done. Konju patient irkuno. Ellarku vanakkam. I do not Tamil, a bit of Tamil. Konju da theriyum nalla varadile. So with that, I just begin. I remember my Gurudev Revered Swami Ramakrishna Math used to tell, when all these ideas of service, relief, etc. were being discussed, he referred to our Kankal Ashrama, where Swami Kalyanji started that hospital which Revered Ramakrishna Math referred in the morning. So he used to say, Maharaj used to tell, as we carry flowers, Bilva, etc., Gangajal, to offer puja to the Lord inside the temple, so the sadhus of Ramakrishna Mission carry IV, paracetamol, injection with the same idea to Sarada Narayana in the hospital. This Maharaj used to tell me, many times I have heard him speak. I am highly inspired by Maharaj, Ranganathananda Maharaj. So he used to refer to this idea. And one astonishing factor, before I begin, I want to mention here, when I was in training center between 2004 and 2006, Vivekananda University was started in 2005. There was a first meeting, I think HRD Minister was Sri Arjun Singh, who had come to the function. Under UGC plan, they gave a grant of 2 crores to the deemed university. Actually, UGC cannot give grant to a deemed university. That was what they mentioned in the meeting. I don't know the regulations, Maharaj may be knowing better well, just to mention the fact. Then he said, why we are giving 2 crore grant? This is an exception from the regular rules, not a regular one, this is an exception. Why exception? Why this exception? He told, this is the first organization which is starting a tribal welfare degree certificate all over India. Never we have come across any university which offers a degree and undergraduate and postgraduate degree in tribal welfare, and also a degree and master degree for differently abled, that's in Coimbatore. This is the first university in the whole India. I don't know about the world, at least now India. So that's why, to help them, at least there's a university which says we have a tribal welfare, a degree university, you can have a certificate after doing the work in mission. So they granted the 2 crores. So that's why you can imagine what would be the bhava of Swami Vivekananda when he started this Ramakrishna Mission. Of course, I will be touching a few points. To give a brief note, I want to narrate 2 or 3 important incidences which happened, and especially I will conclude with the Shivanelli Mission. Why Shivanelli Mission started a school and relief activity, not relief, tribal activity and a school in Shivanelli. One incident happened which made our Swami Vishnumanji to start a center there. So with that I will try to conclude. Now I will be focusing on mainly in the northeast, along Narottam Nagar, Itanagar, Arunachal Pradesh, Mansadip, etc. in West Bengal. Jharkhand we have Ranchi Institute. In Chhattisgarh we have Narayanpur. In Orissa, we have doing tribal welfare through Bhubaneswar and Purimat. And in Andhra Pradesh, a bit of tribal welfare through Vizag and Rajahmundry centers. And in Karnataka, we have direct Ramakrishna mission in Anekal Taluk, and our Bhav Prachar Parishad is doing in BRLs and HD Kote. And in Kerala, a bit of tribal welfare through Trishur and Kaldi centers. These are the major events. I will not be going too much into the details, but I will try to explain few of the incidences that are necessary to start this institute. Actually, you may, if somebody, many of you may have read the life of Swami Vivekananda completely. During his last days, a journalist by name Sakharam Ganesh happens to meet Swamiji in Belur Math. He brings with him a Punjabi journalist. They came mainly to speak on Vedanta in Sanskrit with Swamiji. They wanted to discuss Advaita Vedanta, Brahma Satya, Jagan Mithya iti, etc. So, he wanted to discuss this point with Swamiji in Sanskrit. The moment they started the conversation, immediately Swamiji shifted the topic to the famine that was happening in the central India. Then he inquired, how many people died, what's the latest news? The discussion went for 2 long hours. After the discussion, the Sakharam Ganesh was totally upset because Swamiji, I came all the way to meet you to discuss about Vedanta. And we started conversing for past 2 hours on a mundane thing called our social, how many people died, etc. Mind you, young students, for your information, there's one statistics which says, even it's quoted by Swami Sharadanji in his book on lectures on Gita, there it says, people who died in India due to famine and starvation are more than the people who died in 2 world wars. People who died in 2 world wars are lesser compared to Indian people who died due to starvation and famine. You could imagine what would have been the suffering of Swamiji when he travelled in all over India. Evalu suffering da? What would he suffering seeing people dying and crying without food? Forget about all your mutt and mission and all those things. His idea, I am thinking of Swamiji's heart. We are sitting at a well fast-tracked economy with a cheapity, jackpacks, etc., confusing the metropolitan people. But at those days, when Swamiji was travelling, so he brought this idea into the discussion when Sakharam Ganesh said, Swamiji, we have wasted our time. Then Swamiji clarifies his meaning of Vedanta. He says, do you understand my meaning of Vedanta? What is your understanding, Swamiji? As long till a dog in India dies due to starvation, giving food to dog in India is my way of teaching Vedanta. So, I am not worried about your whether Brahma is Satya, Jagan Mithya. I can see a dog dying due to starvation, feed him with food first. That is my Vedanta. Actually, he had this idea and even to the extent said, he wanted a technical school to be started in, he refers, Chota Nagpur. Of course, it comes in Bihar, Jharkhand area. And he wanted a new ways of production, especially for the tribal to start agriculture center. And he wanted a plot of land in Hazaribagh area, in central India, Hazaribagh area, where Swamiji wanted to purchase land. That was his time. With these ideas, then we could start a center in Ranchi by Revered Swami Vishuddhanji Maharaj, who was a disciple of Holy Mother in 1927. Actually, it has got a lot of activities in our Ranchi center. It started in 1927. Later, one of the best wonderful aspect of that Ranchi center is, in 1969, they started a residential tribal training institute, Divyayan, in Ranchi, which guys you cannot even imagine. There was hundreds of courses. Now they have tied up with our deemed Vivekananda University, where they can offer 3 months, 6 months courses. More than 2,500 trainees are trained, and they are off-campus training, where more than 4,000 for 1 day off-campus training, where more than 4,000 trainees. This is meant primarily for the tribal youth. It's a residential training institute. And fortunately, they have come up with a very innovative idea. They have started a magazine by the name Prabuddha Gram. Very innovative, which gives all the details for farming and other economic and social activities. And it is a bilingual, it's both in English and Hindi. It's a quarterly magazine. And fortunately, you know, they have given 5 courses, MSc Integrated, MSc 2 years and BSc. Even you can have a PhD in agricultural science in Morabadi, Ranchi, connected with the Vivekananda University. Can you imagine? For tribal welfare, you can get a PhD from a Ranchi. Maybe none of the politicians are thinking about, but Swami's followers of Vivekananda are thinking about this nation, mind you. And how we entered Arunachal Pradesh is very, very surprising. How and why we entered Arunachal? Because there is a statement by Swami Vivekananda. Swamiji in one place says, if and when the British should leave India, there would be a great danger of India's being conquered by the China. There's one statement by Swamiji. It happened in 1962 with the Sino-Indian War. After the war, the central government requested Ramakrishna Mission. It was the war which precipitated Ramakrishna Mission movement in Nefa, in Arunachal Pradesh. It started with a letter by Indira Gandhi to my Guru Revered Ranganathananda. I would like to read that letter written by at that time she was Information Broadcasting Minister, not the Prime Minister of the country. She wrote this letter in 21st July 1965, I quote, I read, since my first visit to Nefa, that is Arunachal Pradesh, and Nagaland, I have felt the need for the missionary work to be done there by non-interested persons. In this context, Ramakrishna Mission naturally come to my mind, and I have spoken with Swami Abhiyanji, who was the manager of Belur. Swami Abhiyanji, however, I was told that the mission was unable to expand their activities as they did not have new men coming in. Swami morning, Swamiji told, it's brutal to marry, quoting Swami's letter. A few days ago, I received a letter from the governor of Assam, Sri Vishnu Sahai, reminding me of my earlier suggestion and informing me that now that the Ramakrishna Mission in Burma is likely to be closed. We had a center in Burma, hospital center, which was closed. In Burma is likely to be closed. Several experienced workers may become available. He wondered if it would be possible for them to go to Nefa to start a small mission there, doing either educational or medical work or whatever they consider suitable. I am also writing to Swami Abhayananda, but as he has not been keeping very well, I thought I should write to you also to help us in this regard. This is a letter by Srimati Indira Gandhi. With this, we started our all activities mainly in Nefa Center. And you can imagine, there are so many stories connected, and Gautmanji Maharaj was also secretary. I will not deal with those details. You can go to our website, all the details have been put in our website. There, one thing happened in the initial stages when there was admission for the class 1. A 6-year child and a 18-year-old adult, both were the classmates. Because first time they are seeing a school in their region, and the seniors are not educated in the sense of going to school, and hence both were admitted to the same class, and it was a hell of a task for a teacher to teach both. Many teachers are there, I suppose. We are also running a CBSE school. I can understand how to teach a village people. It's not so easy. So now think of those 1960-65 when young children and adults were put together same class, and teacher was supposed to teach ABCD. And with this idea as a beginning, they went to the most eastern part of the Arunachal Pradesh, which is called the Tirap district. Actually, we have a center in Narottam Nagar. The fact why the name of Narottam came to that place is a bit of history which I want to quote. There is a In Arunachal Pradesh, there are mainly 26 main tribes and they have 100 sub-tribes, totally 126 tribes in Arunachal. In this Tirap district, there are mainly 4 tribal people. Among the chief is called Naktas. The chief of this tribe is called Lotha Kunbo. He was a very religious man, highly religious man. And he was seeking a guru. He wanted to be initiated into spiritual life. He was a very religious man. And hence he was seeking a guru. Fortunately, he found one in Ramata. He was a Vaishnavite. He was a great Vaishnava guru. And he got initiated into Vaishnavism through this Ramata. And he named this Kunbo as Narottam, best among men. Narottam. The place where he stayed is called Narottam Nagar, where government and forest, the local tribes donated Ramakrishna Mission with 250 acres, through which we have started our center there. This is about Narottam Nagar. Coming to Meghalaya, we have 3 centers. One is Shillong, then Cherrapunji and Shilla. Actually, it started in late 1920s. And officially it was started, Ramakrishna Mission as a branch center in 1931. Initial stages it was started by Swami Prabhanji, not the present one, the earlier, the first Prabhanji. Actually very highly and dynamic Swami who learned Khasi language of the Meghalayas. He translated the gospel of Sri Ramakrishna into Khasi with the help of Swami Chandikanji. Chandikanji was a great composer, what a great singer. With him, he composed many songs on the life and teachings of Sri Ramakrishna, Thakur, Ma and Swamiji in Khasi, composed and gave a tune and made these Khasi people tribal to people to sing all those things. So, Prabhanji and Chandikanji have contributed a lot. They had one condition. When Ramakrishna Mission entered into Cherrapunji, they had one condition. This was also applicable to the Arunachal Alo. So they had one condition, meaning they want to preserve their own culture but want to learn English. The problem in our country in major part, proselytization. This is conversion. They don't want conversion. They want to stand with their own culture and want to learn English. For that they invited Ramakrishna Mission, which is the only institution which can give both. Sri Ramakrishna Jatopat Tatomat. There was some little bit confusion recently anyhow. So, this Jatomat Tatopat, Sri Ramakrishna's philosophy we have as a strong foundation. Based on that idea, our sadhus entered Cherrapunji, giving them the education that they want in English and also allowing them to preserve their own culture. So, they had a national integration oath in all our northeastern centers, which is based on Swadeshi Mantra of Swami Vivekananda. Every day after prayer, they used to recite it. I am an Indian. Every Indian is my brother. India is my life. India is my heaven. In India's welfare lies my welfare too. This is the national integration oath taken by students every day during prayer. So, with this idea, we started tribal welfare in Cherrapunji, mainly Cherrapunji, when revered Swami Bhauteshanji Maharaj, our president of the order earlier, entered into Cherrapunji in 1936. There was such a condition, you cannot imagine. The salary for the teachers for past 1 year was not paid. For 1 year they were not paid. Maharaj went in that condition. No money to pay the teachers and you cannot continue any activity. So, fortunately, they had a centenary celebration of Sri Ramakrishna's birth centenary. Some amount was left. Taking that, Maharaj cleared all the salaries except the headmaster. He resigned and left, of course. There are many incidences from Maharaj. Of course, these are all unpublished. Whatever is there on the website, I am not quoting because you can see it there. Whatever unpublished, I am trying to refer it here. So, then that headmaster left. Maharaj was in search of, two headmasters came in 2 months, somehow it was settled. He settled for 50 rupees per month later. And then the next condition was a financial problem. Maharaj used to visit every house and begged money, 1 anna, 2 anna. Rich people used to donate 1 rupee. All common people used to donate 1 anna, 2 anna, 3 anna to run the Cherrapunji center. He has begged literally. Every Sunday he used to go by bicycle to Shillong. It's a 2 hours on a jeep now. Can you imagine how much time would have taken for him to travel from Cherrapunji? It's a hilly area. From Cherrapunji to Shillong. He used to ride a bicycle, go there, it's what's a mud center, deliver a talk and could get some small amount of pranami. To that pranami, while on the way back to Cherrapunji, he used to purchase rice for him for 1 week. He said, I have never purchased salt. And 50 paisa of coal to cook this food. A devotee nearby gave him dal for 1 month. And then he used to find some greens in the garden. Greens, dal, rice with 50 paisa coal per week. He used to boil and eat. He said, never in my life in Cherrapunji's time I have purchased a salt for the sake of cooking. Minimum amount because no money. And when night when it used to rain, even during daytime, he used to live in the school which was a tin shedded with a tin roofing. Full of holes, whole room is full of water. How to sleep? He used to he used to take this bedsheet, apply little bit of oil on the surface and sleep. That was how our senior sadhus have sacrificed. We are sitting in a AC room now, this is AC room. No AC room for those Swamis. They have suffered for us. We should be grateful to those great seniors. These are all only a bit of an iceberg. Please see. This is only bit of all our senior sadhus. Gurudev, Bhuteshanji Maharaj, Omkaranji, Vishuddhananji, any name, Kalyananji, Nishnayanji, Budhanji, and in the west, Nikhilanji, Madhvanji, whatever name you say, they have suffered a lot. Not like us sitting in. And here one point I want to mention here. When Maharaj, this is not actually directly connected with a tribal activity, but connected with our Shillong Center and Cherrapunji. During 1945, there was a crisis during Second World War. Second World War is still going on. There was one governor by name Robert Reed. He was the governor of, Lieutenant Governor of Assam. So what happened when Revered Bhuteshanji Maharaj was the secretary of Shillong and Cherrapunji? There was one request from him. Many refugees were coming from Burma through Nagaland. So, government was unable to handle the crisis in Nagaland. So, Mrs. Robert Reed made a phone call to Revered Bhuteshanji Maharaj and requested him to handle the refugee camp at Dhimapur in Nagaland. You all go once and see, come. In Dhimapur, Nagaland. Then Maharaj in his one of the private conversation, he has narrated few incidents which I want to make you hear. Every day, minimum 1,000 refugees used to come in a truck. Maharaj says they were brought like a cattle in a truck. Thousands every day. And what is the duty? And Maharaj, Madhvanji Maharaj was the general secretary during that time. He wrote a letter to depute 2-3 sadhus for him to help. They sent 4 sadhus and Maharaj, including 5 Swamis, they were in that Dhimapur, no electricity. When 1,000 people were brought in, the first thing, cook, you have to cook the food, feed them. They had only 2, only dal and rice, nothing else, no sabji, nothing, no, nothing. Dal and bhat, rice will be given. And ask where they want to go, know the destination. Book a train ticket for all the 1,000 and see them off at the railway station. Next day again 1,000 people will come. It went on for 3 to 4 months. And unfortunately, cholera, due to rain and contaminated water, there was a disease, cholera disease, rampant. And all the assistant 4 Swamis were caught with cholera. They were sent to Belur, but only Swami Bhuteshanji is alone, soldiers fighting there. And on the way, suppose somebody wants to have, all the water sources were guarded with a gun. No water anywhere, no drinking water. If you want to survive, they will give you a cup of water. Can you imagine? The rate for a cup of water in 1945 was between 5 to 10 rupees in 1945. Now you can take a cup of tea at Prince for 10 rupees. There in 1945, Maharaj said, if you want to survive, you have to pay 10 rupees for a cup of water. Those who cannot afford, they used to die. And Maharaj said, if you see the suffering of those people at that time, I thought I will go mad. And a family, if somebody dies, they are so used to see dying that they have forgotten to cry. People have forgotten to cry because every day they are seeing people dying. And Maharaj narrated one story. One day 1200 refugees were brought in. Morning 1200, by evening 900 died. Only 300 remained. And if it rains, it was too slushy, stinky, and if they want to eat food, Maharaj used to say, we used to sprinkle phenyl on the floor and sit and eat. 3 months we used to sprinkle, we are very much fed up with the smell of phenyl, but no way to go out, because we are here to serve. In that condition, Maharaj had so much of service, and government allotted 200 cremators to bury the bodies. 200 cremators were there just to bury the body whole day. They come, they die, they go. That was the condition, and one Sachidananda Dhar was a participant. He had information and he was asked to leave the camp immediately. Bhuteshanji Maharaj went all the way to the railway station and gave farewell. Next day he saw in Dhimapur there was a bomb dropped by Japanese. Fortunately, Bhuteshanji Maharaj survived. And he thought, what Swamis are struggling their life and serving the whole country? There was no Indian government that is a British government. But Swami was given the responsibility, and finally, after all this camp were closed, Robert Reed made a statement. He said, never had I imagined that any Indian organization was capable of carrying out such a well-organized relief work. Robert Reed has quoted Lieutenant Robert Reed after this incident. There are many such incidences, and finally I will try to conclude. And in the central part of India, we have this Chhattisgarh center. In the state of Chhattisgarh, we have Narayanpur. When our Swamis went for a first service, actually it was all to the inspiration of Swami Atmanji Maharaj, who started this relief in 1960s. There is a place called Mana near Raipur, where many Bangladeshis refugees were there. For them, rehabilitation was supposed to be done. But because of lack of resources from the government, they requested voluntary organizations to come forward and help the refugee movement. Belur sent some Swamis through Swami Gambhiranji Maharaj. Virashwanji Maharaj was the general secretary at that time. And here Atmanji joined. After all the relief, they went round the Bastar district, where that Abujmad, the famous 1000 square kilometer forest area is there. The main tribe is there, Madia. There are Halba, Gondia tribals, but main tribals is Madia. They form 80% of the surrounding 1000 square kilometer of the forest area. There when our Shikhanji Maharaj, they all went first time, they were going in a jeep inside the forest. Some people were standing at the far off place. They could not identify who. But when the jeep went near them, they all faced their faces towards the forest. Seeing the jeep, they turned and faced their faces towards the forest. They were all maybe 20 to 25 ladies. None of them had their cloth to wear, except a part of cloth near the abdomen. So they were very lajja, shy to show their body to a Swami. They turned their faces towards the forest, and they could understand the gravity. They were living in a subhuman condition, not even human. Forget about Vedanta. It is subhuman condition. So then they decided we need to do something for this. And then Atmanji started many things. When they first approached, that time Arjun Singh was there in Madhya Pradesh government. They had a message from Indira Gandhi to help Ramakrishna Mission to start a center at Narayanpur. All the officials, Arjun Singh had mentioned when he had come to Belur, all the officials in MP were dead against Ramakrishna Mission to start a center at Narayanpur. Can you imagine the idea? Their mental condition. Kya haal hai hamara desh ka? So except Arjun Singh had a strong support from the Prime Minister of the country, he gave a red mark to all the suggestions that came. And when they said that people, even including women, have no cloth to wear, the IAS officer, the bureaucracy reported, sir, because they don't like to wear a cloth. There are tribes. I say, chhod dena, I say, rahenge. Kya rahenge? Then what? This all the traders who were in bordering Abujmar, they were taking the forest produce from them, and in exchange, many times they used to exchange with salt, uppu. There are some nice flowers, there are some nice spices that are used, there are nice dal that are used for sweets. All those things they used to purchase for 5 kgs, 10 kgs, in exchange they used to give salt. When Ramakrishna Mission entered, they in tie with an NGO, they started, earlier it was a barter system, then they started giving them money. When they had a little bit of economic freedom, the first thing they did, Maharaj nicely told, the first thing they did was, they were very happy to wear a HMT watch. The first thing they did, they took a nice pant and wore. You can imagine a jeans pant, let us say. So they wear a nice jeans pant with a HMT watch and a Philips transistor. Then they told the government, because of lack of money they are not wearing the cloth, not due to their tribal culture. They thought it was a tribal culture. But once they started earning money due to Ramakrishna Mission tribal wealth, there are many. Please, I request you to go and see. You should go and see. So even the day I visited, I went at morning 6 a.m. by a bus through Raipur. When I alighted, there was full of CRF Jawans. I thought, why? Yesterday evening in front of our agriculture, there was a bomb blast. Evening at 6 p.m. They are full of, still now I think it is much better now, but 15-20 years back, full of Naxalites. There are many hundreds of stories connected with this Naxalite movement. And coming to the last part of our center in Shivanelli, in Karnataka, it is many things are very surprising. It is hardly 25 kilometers from the main city. Now it is 10 kilometers. We have a forest land. If we enter the Bandarghetta National Park with 10 kilometers, fortunately we are surrounded by all the sides by forest, Bandarghetta BNP National Park. You have to enter 10 kilometers and there are 16 villages. And in those 16 villages from 85 we are adopted and running education institutions, Sunday dispensary and many such activities, self-help groups, etc. So what made Swamiji to start? Actually insisted, Swami Chidanji was there in 83, 84. They went on a survey. Somebody reported it's a famine area. They went on a survey, even Abhiranj Maharaj was there in the first survey. He and one more volunteer. There was no road, no electricity, no electric pole. You have to, wherever your jeep goes, that's the road. It's hardly 25 kilometers from the capital, the IT capital of the world, not just India. But we have got a geo connection 4 years back. That too, we reported to central government, they told Ambani and they have installed 4 years back. We are getting a mobile connection 4 years back. So, very surprising, These were the condition. So we just started 3 days medical camp, Monday, Wednesday, Friday and Sunday. When we had near Shivanalli, there are 3 tribals. They are called Iruligas. They are more or less common with our BRS and HD Kote tribals. They are called Jain Kurubas. Here they are called Iruligas. They are called ST, scheduled tribes. So when medical camp was over by around 6 o'clock in the evening, some villager reported, Swamiji, there is one lady who is too sick. She was around 18 years. When we went, still you just remember, there was a child marriage in vogue. When we entered 1984, you cannot even, 1984, there was child marriage there. So when we entered there, Swamiji was reported that a young girl of age 18, she is a mother of a boy, she is totally bedridden, can you come and see? They went, it is some 2 kilometers inside, it is called Solepura, now we are named it as Vivekanandapura. They went to Swamiji and one more doctor by Chandramoli, now he is in America, they both went there and saw, she is completely bedridden, that lady is completely bedridden. She had vomiting and diarrhea from past 6-7 days. They have carried her all the way to Victoria Hospital, but she was supposed to be admitted. Their house people thought if we admitted, there are no people to take care, and they brought her back to the village without giving her treatment. And she is having diarrhea, nobody to serve, and she is completely anemic and bedridden. And our Swamiji and then that doctor saw, fortunately we had an IV, they inserted that IV with drips and made her to sleep. Of course she was sleeping. And they needed a very important injection for her to survive. It was almost 6:37 p.m. Then Swamiji and doctor told, we will go back to city, bring an injection and give her an injection so that she will survive. And gave some instructions to the family people, you take care, we will be back. After some time, they left in a jeep. By the time they came to city, that injection was not available. They said, it's not like today's, it is in 84 also, Bangalore used to sleep after 8 p.m. Now because of 80, it is 24 hours working. 1984, it was not 24 hours working. So after a lot of searches, they could get the required medicine. When they came back to the village, it was 11:30 p.m. They went to the hut where she was sleeping and they saw nobody at home. She is not there, nobody at home. The drips, etc. were kept on the floor. They have removed it and it has been kept. Then where she went, she is in a dying condition, where to search? And it's night 11:30. Please remember, our Shivanalli area is an elephant corridor. Last month twice, even at 8:15, after I finished my food and went to my room, 4-5 elephants were there, night 8:15. And morning 8:30, after breakfast, I was coming out, some 4-5 elephants were there. We drove with the forest people. It's an elephant corridor. Regularly you will see elephants there. And night 11:30, where to search? And they inquired nearby huts. They said, Swamiji, they went, they went this side. Having a torch and all those things, they went in search of that girl who was supposed to die, who was on the verge of dying. When they went, after walking for 1.5 kilometers, they came to the edge of a hill, they could hear sounds. And they thought, what the villagers are thinking, this girl is possessed by a ghost, no diarrhea, nothing. It's all foolishness to think and go to a hospital. She is possessed by a ghost. So they have brought a tantric who is hitting her with a neem leaf and she is in a delirium. She is semi-conscious. By the time our Swami and the doctor approached, she shouted with high pitch and died. She died there. In front of us, Swamiji could not contain himself, Vishnumanji. And Dr. Chandramoli, he was so much, Swamiji, we could have saved her. We had this injection. They did not allow to approach that lady. So much of superstition, 1985. I always, with all these conditions, I always go back to Swami Vivekananda. What would have he had thought about this country? But still it said, India will rise again once more, like no other time. He gave in lecture in Ramnad, in Tamil Nadu only, what high hopes he had about India in spite of all the superstitions, etc. So with this, it made Swami Vishnumanji to start that we should first start education, first educate them, forget about other things. Let us start a school. We took a school from the government with 3 children. There were only 3 children in the government school with a special permission from the cabinet. Those times they were not handing over the government schools to any NGO. Then with a special permission, we took over the school, and now we have a CBSE section with 520. We have come from 3 Ramakrishna Mission. So that was when we helped that Anayandodi and Irligas. They were growing 60 to 80 or maximum 100 kgs ragi. Ragi is a staple food there. They used to grow with all our linking with them with the government, agriculture, horticulture, etc. department. Now they grow 1000 kgs per acre. They were growing 100 to 80 to 100. Because of all modernization and all this implementation, they have come to 800 to 1000 kgs of growing ragi. And with all these things, one thing I found was what Swamiji says, religion is the backbone of India. That is 1000% true. How I felt is, when I went first time, Vishnumanji was not there, he was in the hospital. During that time headquarters posted me, I went there. And then they asked me to come to the village, Anayandodi, which is a tribal village, where Irliga stay. So yes, I told I will come at 10 o'clock. When I went, can you imagine the first thing, they are not educated in the sense of having a PhD. But the moment I entered the village, they asked me to sit. Kutkoli Swamiji, they asked me to sit. They brought not cold water, they brought a warm water, washed my feet, applied vermilion, and then offered flowers, did pranams, then they inquired, how are you, Yak Bande Swamiji? So they did Pada Puja to a Swami. Though they may be tribals, but they have this culture of religion inherited in their DNA. That is the greatness of our country. That's why Swamiji says, any amount of reform, do with religion as the basis. Social reform, economic reform, political reform, education, any reform you do, but the basis in India to be followed is religion alone, nothing else. So we should remember, religion is the backbone of India. We are taking back to their Rishihood through all these activities and to realize God at the end. So with this, I am thanking most Reverend Maharaj. I conclude. Namaste.